Well, hello and welcome to Binge Watch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwan, writer on TV and Saturday Week, TV Times and What's on TV magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 31st of May 2024. Including famous faces celebrating North London's music mecca in rockumentary series Camden on Disney Plus, and an American version of the hit Sky TV drama Mad Dogs on UKTV Play.
And we'll also be checking out Benedict Cumberbatch as a puppeteer in Eric on Netflix, and the return of Muslim rock band We Are Lady Parts to Channel 4 streaming. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
David Tennant, Aidan Turner, Danny Dyer and Catherine Parkinson will star in an adaptation of Dame Jilly Cooper's racy romp Rivals. You'll be getting that one, Hannah, on Disney Plus. What else is in the news?
Glad to hear it. Well, Sheridan Smith will headline in the upcoming ITV drama I Fought the Law, based on the book by Anne Ming, who brought about a change to the double jeopardy law in pursuit of justice for her murdered daughter.
A very strong week this week. We're going to start on Disney Plus with a new 4-part documentary series called Camden, which arrived on Wednesday the 29th of May. And here's a clip.
We're recording in Camden. I'm Dua.
It's this place of radical acceptance. Seeing that makes you believe in yourself. This is really my home.
We were celebrating women's lib, gay lib, black power through our music. It all happened in Camden. It was, for me, life-changing.
Londoners, of course, will know, and many people from outside London, that Camden, come out of Camden Tube Station, chuck a stone, and you're pretty likely to hit a music venue, because you've got the Roundhouse, the Electric Ballroom, you've got Coco, which used to be the Camden Palace, and the Music Machine. You've got the Jazz Cafe, you've got Dingwalls, all in this small area, but not just those. You've also got lots of pubs, iconic pubs, that are music venues that a lot of famous bands sort of started out in, including famously, of course, Madness. And I have to say at this point, Hannah, that My Scar Band have played in the Camden pub, the Dublin Castle, that made Madness famous. So yes, we see Suggs remembering those days. We see Boy George, Chris Martin, Noel Gallagher, and very interestingly, the lads from the Libertines, Carl Barrett and Pete Doherty, just recalling their Camden days and how important that music scene was for them. You've also got Dua Lipa, who executive produced this series. So yeah, I mean, for music fans, it's just a delight, and it basically just made me want to. I mean, I know Camden it's very scuzzy, isn't it? And it's a real tourist trap with, you know, the market. It's got unusual shops up there. You've got the canal, but it has got this amazing pub music and music venue scene that this is like the lifeblood of the music industry, because it gives bands a chance to play and just start to build a following to sort of hone their live act. So yeah, there's lots of great reminiscing. You see some archive footage of Madness back in the day, talking to the Irish landlady of the Dublin Castle, which is hilarious. And yeah, stuff about the Libertines, you know, they lived in a grotty little basement flat in Camden, and a lot of people will know they just used to do impromptu gigs in their flat. So it's great stuff. I mean, you love music. There's music from quite a few different eras, including quite modern acts like Youngblood. So yeah, I learned a lot. I found it really interesting, and I was listening to some musicians that I'm not personally familiar with because I'm a bit old. So yeah, highly recommended. What did you think, Hannah?
Oh, absolutely brilliant. You know, I've been to most of those pubs in Camden, and I suppose, I think, like you say, you learn a lot, because it is a bit scuzzy in places, isn't it? It's a bit kind of, but yeah, it is a complete tourist trap. And in sort of equal measure, it's cool, and just kind of a hub of music, and where a lot of music starts. And like you say, living in those kind of basements and doing impromptu gigs, it's kind of what you imagine in a movie, but it's actually real. And then this brings this all to life. And like you say, kind of these pubs that are just kind of a hub of where music starts, some of these biggest bands. And what a coup to have all of these kind of famous faces sharing their own memories, their own personal memories, and how they got to where they are now, superstardom, if you like. And it's executive produced by Dua Lipa as well, and so it is starry, isn't it? And it really feels authentic because of it, because these people were involved, a lot of them in the music coming through Camden, and kind of, I suppose, paying their dues before they became big hotshots. But inside those pubs, and for me it's really quite nostalgic, because I feel like I spent many years in and out of those kind of pubs and going to those music venues. And if you like music, you probably will have done yourself. So, but even if you haven't, it's just incredibly interesting. And I think it still lives on, which is brilliant, as it should do. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
Over on Dave and UKTV Play, this one arrived on Monday the 27th of May. May have a familiar ring to it. It's a new series called Mad Dogs, and here's a clip.
Welcome to Belize.
When is the last time 5 of us were in the same place at the same time?
To old friends.
The house, retirement, Belize. You think it's legit? Don't you?
Philo, there's something on the bottom of your pool. It's schoolyard rules around here. Somebody pushes, you push back.
Yep, this will seem familiar to a lot of people because it was very, very popular, wasn't it, Mad Dogs? And this is based on that 2015 UK series, which, if you remember, starred Philip Glenister and Max Beasley, just to name a couple. And this is the US version. And instead of it being set in Spain, it's now set in Belize. I didn't like it as much. I'm going to put that out there straight away. These 4 friends are invited to their old friend Milo's, who's played by Billy Zane, to his villa in Belize. But Milo is this notorious crime boss, and so you're going for a nice holiday, not quite what you imagine, and suddenly these old school friends are just stuck on a holiday from hell and kind of getting involved in things that they just wrong place, wrong time sort of thing. But the thing is, it's not, you imagine this to sort of just turn violent straight away, and it doesn't. And I think for a long time it just feels like it is wrong place, wrong time, bad luck. But that doesn't continue throughout it. Eventually it's just kind of, I don't know, I found it a little bit tedious towards the end, to be honest with you. But there's one member of this group of 5 that's shot dead by a person wearing a cat mask. And so of course, as you do, and suddenly they're drawn even deeper into this, web of crime, and they're choosing the wrong path all the time rather than the right path. And I mean, as I say, it's based on Mad Dogs, the original, so it doesn't wander hugely far from that. But a lot of them just don't want to be involved in this. They want to be exonerated of all of it. It's not their fault. It's not me, sir. It's not me, officer. I didn't do it. But you kind of, they are guilty by association to a degree. And they were over there, and they did choose to go over on this trip. And of course, you then have the police are in pursuit of them all, and they're all covering their tracks so much by this point that they're getting deeper and deeper into criminal activity. So it's pacey, it is violent at times, it gets more and more violent as you go throughout it, but I don't know, I'm not sure it should have been remade. I don't know if it was necessary for this to happen. I think we're happy with the original. I don't know what you think, Ian. Not totally my cup of tea.
Well, I never saw the original, though, as you say, it had an amazing cast that also included John Sim, Mark Warren, and Ben Chaplin, who is also in this American version playing a different role But again, this has a good cast, including Titanic's Billy Zane as the guy who invites them all to come and visit him in his beautiful villa in Belize. And you've got Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos. So I really enjoyed episode 1 because these are guys, they've all kind of got to that age where they've made their choices in life and, you know, they're stuck with them. And it's a bit of fish out of water, you know, in that they're all transported to this new environment. And I think it's quite good at portraying how, especially blokes, when they're let off the leash on holiday, how they can behave. There's a murder and the circumstances that lead them not to just go to the police and go home, but to try and kind of put things right because they're terrified, fearing for their lives. I did buy into it, and I really liked episode 1. However, reading the reviews of the entire series, you get the impression that perhaps it does go off the boil somewhat. But I would say give it a go because, I thought it was a good adaptation. It worked for me, and it sort of made me want to catch the original British version, which I guess has got a touch of the old Sexy Beast, that classic Ray Winstone film. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Over on Netflix, arriving on Thursday, the 30th of May, we have a new drama series starring the fantastic Benedict Cumberbatch. It's called Eric, and here's a clip.
48 hours since Edgar Anderson was last seen around 8 a.m. I wrote to school. We're urging anybody with information, however small, please come forward, pick up the phone, and help us bring Edgar home.
Always good to see Cumberbatch in something, isn't it, Hannah? So this, of course, everything's set in the 1980s, isn't it, these days? So this is no exception. It's set in 1980s New York, and it's from the writer Abby Morgan, who wrote The Split, amongst other things. And Cumberbatch is playing this puppeteer called Vincent. So he works in a sort of Muppet Sesame Street type kids puppet show called Good Day Sunshine that he came up with, and he's one of the puppeteers. So that whole side of things is great. It's great seeing them operating the puppets and doing the voices. Really, really good. And he's a complex character, this guy. He's obviously very creative, but he's very prickly. He can be a fun and good dad, but he can also be quite distant. He drinks quite a lot, and he has horrible arguments with his wife. And yeah, he has this 9-year-old son, Edgar, played by Ivan Howe, who clearly sort of idolizes him, and he starts drawing his own puppets, and he, trying to show them to his dad, who doesn't always pay attention. Anyway, long story short, Edgar goes missing on the way to school. So the police start to investigate, and the subplot involving the policeman who's on the case is really interesting in its own right. But yeah, I mean, Cumberbatch he just has such presence on screen, and he's terrific in this. He's compelling, playing someone who's kind of going off the rails. I mean, he was in that superb adaptation of Patrick Melrose on Sky, which was great, and this, certainly episode 1 of this, I really liked. And there's a twist right at the end of the episode, which I'm not going to reveal, that just kind of takes it in a whole new direction. But yeah, I don't want to spoil the surprise. Watch it, because Cumberbatch is great. The setting is really different and interesting. I mean, they live in this big brownstone in quite a sort of rundown area, and that's, the kid disappears from this slightly dangerous area, and he's walked past the nightclub, and is the nightclub involved? So yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was terrific. What did you think, Hannah?
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's every parent's worst nightmare, isn't it? And it's kind of, Benedict Cumberbatch, absolutely. I mean, he's just great at everything that he does, isn't he? And in this, he's kind of this very sort of tortured genius, this puppeteer who is just desperate to get his son back, as every parent would be. And it's kind of, it's not just what's going on though at the front of everything. It's kind of what's going on behind it too. And you know, he battles his own demons, and you see all of that. And he is a really tortured person, but incredibly clever. And I find this kind of thing very interesting in kind of like the human sort of psychologies really, and the things that you'll do and the levels you'll go to get what you want back, what means most to you. And I think that it had to be played by the right person. And I think Benedict does a job perfectly. Really good.
We're going to finish on Channel 4 and Channel 4 streaming with the return on Thursday the 30th of May of the comedy We Are Lady Parts. And here's a clip.
We, us, Lady Parts, will be recording an album.
An album?
Hit record. An opus.
We're still got to pay for the studio time. We need £2,000.
Pounds?
No, shillings.
We're recording this album.
We should have been excited, but we were all a little jangly.
A fashion shoot. We're serious musicians, not vapid agents of capitalism.
Yeah, so this is the second season, the second outing for this. So it was a hit the first time round. And this is based on this all-female Muslim punk band set in London. And they're riding high. They've had a summer of touring, small venues, and this sort of explores the next part for this girl band. So they're returning to normal life. You've got the lead guitarist Amina. She's a real people pleaser, but she wants to put herself first. She starts a relationship. Then you've got the front woman, Syra. She wants to record the Lady Parts' first album. You've got all these sort of different dynamics, but what's really interesting here is that they seem to be riding high. They've got it all. They seem to be really kind of got real traction. People love them. And then another band comes along, and they do covers of the Lady Parts, and they don't like it. So they think, oh no, is our time done already? Because let's be honest, that's how the industry works, isn't it? You're in 1 minute and out next. How many people are one-hit wonders? And they start to worry. And certainly everyone thinks you make money straight away. They don't. They still need to make their money. And then there's this kind of covering sort of whether you completely sell out. Do you sell out? I mean, how many boy bands have done that? Kind of lads that have been in boy bands that don't really like the music they're singing, but they know that's what people want. And it's kind of, how far do you sell out to make the big bucks, to be famous? And if you've got that addiction to fame, or whether it just pays the bills, or do you keep doing what you do and make music that you really enjoy, or what have you? And so this kind of explores that dynamic really. But what I found really interesting was that the cast all play their own instruments in this. So I mean, can you imagine the hours of rehearsals that there needed to be for them to do that? So time has really, really, really got into this, and significantly harder than season one, I think, in many ways for a lot of the cast. So yeah, I mean, as I say, I didn't see the first season. I think it's good to probably dip into it first, but you'll catch up pretty quickly. And it's just a dynamic of we've talked about music, documentaries. This is different, but it's the same. It's sort of behind the scenes of how a band might be behaving, what's really happening, rather than what the public necessarily see. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it. What did you think, Ian?
I didn't see series one, and I mean, first of all, I love the title. That's hilarious. We Are Lady Parts. It's probably like the worst nightmare of certain sections of the press that are obsessed with woke. But the fact that it's a comedy series about an all-female Muslim punk band, and one of the characters has full face coverage throughout, is remarkable. However, that's not the most interesting thing about it, because it's incredibly innovative. The music is really convincing, but also very funny. Like there's one song called "No One's Gonna Kill My Sister But Me," and the name of this other band, this rival band, Second Wave. It's just, and visually, it's hugely inventive. It kind of goes into these sort of imagined sequences that link together in the most unlikely way, but it also has just great conversational comedy, and I particularly like the guitarist Amina, played by Anjana Fazan from Killing Eve. She is hilarious. Especially, she says she's going into her beast mode in this series, where she's not going to be a people pleaser anymore. She's going to do what she wants, and she writes a song about that, which is really funny. So yeah, I was delighted by it. I thought it was so original and just highly unusual. Just great, and it was nominated for a BAFTA, and you can absolutely see why. You don't have to have watched season 1, I would say, but it'd be well worth it, because it's such high quality stuff, and yeah, I absolutely loved it. Now we've got to that time, Hannah, where we find out what the hell you've been binge watching this week.
Well, I've been watching mostly films because yeah, I don't know at the moment. I just kind of want to sit down and I'm just and also, sorry, not only films, Britain's Got Talent, because we're really getting, you know how much I like these things. You know, when this all ends and Simon Cowell's not on my screen anymore, what am I going to do, Ian McEwan? So yeah, films and Britain's Got Talent. How about you?
Well, I'm a sucker for a true crime documentary, and one of the best I've seen is on Channel 4 streaming. Is called Imposter, the man who came back from the dead. And I'm not going to say too much about it other than watch it. It's the most remarkable story. It's just fantastic. Really well done. We're going to look ahead to next week's offerings. So what's on the binge watch menu, Hannah?
Well, Disney drama Becoming Karl Lagerfeld traces the rise of the German fashion icon, which sounds good.
And, oh yes, a shark is trapped in the River Seine. Oh no, not again. In the thriller Under Paris on Netflix, yeah. So we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, listeners, keep watching.